At one point this season, it didn't look like there'd be any motorcycle road racing in Northern Ireland. Insurance issues threatened the future of the sport, but thanks to hard work, determination, the generosity of the fans, and financial support from sponsors, motorcycle racing is going ahead, and we have all this to look forward to.
But look at these four, stuck together. By how close is that? Excuse me, Alistair.
There's a wheelie that says, I am the champion at Armoy.
Oh, wow.
Just watch it all, my goodness.
Oh! Hillier's down. He is an all big style.
Oh, one of McLean is off.
So how close do you like it? They're touching, they're virtually touching.
Now the Cookstown has once again attracted a top-class entry, and here are some of the riders to look out for. Michael Dunlop is the big fans' favourite who last competed here in 2018. He signed with Hawk Racing to ride a superbike this season, and he'll also pilot his own and McAdoo racing machines. Michael Sweeney was man of the meeting last year with a hat-trick representing Martin Jones Racing. He also went on to be crowned the National Road Racer of the Year. Derek Shields is a former Irish Superbike champion and has 9 wins at this event. He's on the Roadhouse Macau BMW. Darrell Tweed is a former Manx Grand Prix winner, and he's shown good form at Cookstown in recent years. And there's Mike Brown, who's won on short circuits already this year, and he'll want to put last year's disappointment behind him after a terrifying crash. He rides for the Burrows Engineering racing outfit. The Cookstown 100 is the shortest road race at 2.1 miles in length. The outright lap record holder is Michael Dunlop, one he set 10 years ago, and it still stands today. The Orritor circuit always produces great racing. There's a long start-finish straight before the course weaves its way through the countryside. There are twists and turns, a jump and off-camber bends before the crossroads and the checkered flag. Well, it's time for the first race of the day. Sadly, the weather has taken a turn for the worst. It's been raining all morning at Cookstown and the road surface is wet. Mike Brown is in pole position, ahead of Nigel Moore and Barry Davidson. However, there are 2 races for the price of one in this one. The Moto3 125cc GP race and the Supersport 300. So you can tell red plates are Supersport 300, black plates are Moto3 125cc GP as we're about to go racing at Cookstown. Away we go. And Davidson will lead them down towards Gorton. Oh, bit sketchy, very sketchy. And that was Chris Meyer on bike 122. I said Davidson would lead them. In fact, into Gorton for the very first time, it's Gary Jordan. So Gary Jordan on the Honda 125. We ride with Barry Davidson. Up against the likes of RJ Woolsey, Linton Irwin, Mark Johnson. But it is still Gary Jordan who leads. And that is the evergreen Nigel Moore in second place. We're riding with Mike Brown. Mike, like Nigel Moore, on a Honda 250. Oh, Nigel Moore up the inside. Perfect. He certainly knows his way around the Orritor circuit. So Nigel Moore takes the lead from Gary Jordan. That was a big move at Mackney. Getting some idea of what's going on. You can see Mike Brown on the 250 just powering his way past Barry Davidson. This is going past Black's Jump and then up to Craig Mount. Then down to the Orritor Crossroads, and it's Nigel Moore who continues to lead. We talked about Barry Davidson having some success, I should say. Certainly can't discount the achievements of Nigel Moore over the years as well. Wonderful sunshine that we enjoyed yesterday, just not happening today, unfortunately. Mike Brown with a little glance over and says, no you don't. Gary Jordan, so it is Nigel Moore from Brown, from Jordan, then Barry Davidson, who is fourth on the road. However, he's leading the Supersport 300 class. And his nearest challenger is just checking down through the order. In fact, he's got a good advantage over Linton Irwin and Mark Johnson in second place in Supersport 300. Here we are with a few riders further back, and there is 17, Linton Irwin, just ahead of RJ Woolsey. And that's who we ride with now, RJ Woolsey, fourth at the end of lap 1 in the Supersport 300 class. Behind Linton Irwin, Mark Johnson in second, but leading Barry Davidson, and on course for that magical 100th Irish road race win. And Mike Brown with a little glance behind him to see what's going on. But his focus really, his target is number 86, Nigel Moore, and it's a good gap back to Gary Jordan now. But Barry Davidson looking calm and collected on the Honda 300. McMullen racing bike. And Mike Brown continues to close in on Nigel Moore. In fact, I think we could be on for a change of lead as we go down the long straight towards Gorton. We can tuck in just behind Nigel Moore. In fact, that's exactly what he's doing, trying to get a little bit of slipstream effect. Not sure he's going to be able to do it. Maybe a late braking maneuver, perhaps. Here they come. But Nigel Moore will hold on to the lead. Just 0.2 of a second between Nigel Moore and Mike Brown at the end of lap 2. This is Chris Meyer just going up the inside of Malcolm Love. 5th on the road, but 4th in that class. There's Paul Jordan. Not competing this year, of course he did last year, broke his left hand in that crash involving Mike Brown and Michael Sweeney last year. Poor old Paul Jordan couldn't do anything about it, the crash just happened in front of him, he got caught up. Yeah, really far from ideal conditions. See how shiny and wet parts of the road is. Moore though, fantastic, holding off Mike Brown. This is back at Mackney, tiptoeing their way through. So will it be Moore? It is in fact Moore. But Brown still continues to hang on to his coattails. And it still looks like 0.2 of a second between the two of them. We'll have confirmation in a moment when they cross the line. Yeah, it's just the same as it was before. A little glance over, maybe Mike Brown's getting aboard there, but oh, here he goes. This is Mike Brown now on the run down towards Gorton. He's gone past, but can he make sure of the lead on the brakes into the right-hand turn? Here comes Nigel Moore, leaving it late, but it's going to be Brown who has indeed snatched the lead. So Mike Brown takes over from Nigel Moore. There was 1.1 seconds between them as they cross the line. Here is Malcolm Love with Gareth Arnold. And Chris Meyer, that's who we ride with right now. Chris Meyer 1-2-2, and going up the inside is Gareth Arnold on Malcolm Love. So Gareth Arnold sneaks a position. Now, having passed Nigel Moore, can Mike Brown shake him off? Or can Nigel Moore, in fact, think about maybe retaking the lead? Parts of the track underneath the tree still dry. However, not a lot of tree coverage on this circuit. And a suggestion, perhaps, that Brown is pulling away from Nigel Moore. Poor old Mike Brown broke both ankles in that big superbike smash last year at Cookstown, and then came back to race at the Isle of Man. Incredible. In fact, it was more than incredible. He went on to do a personal best time. Absolutely stunning from Mike Brown last year in the Isle of Man TT. Man who's won a Manx Grand Prix or two, Barry Davidson. Barry Davidson with Gary Jordan just behind him, but of course racing each other on the road, but not on the timesheets. Barry Davidson continues to lead the Supersport 300 class. Gary Jordan looking for a podium position. He's fourth on the road, but he's third in the Moto3 category. Down to Gorton. A lot of spray. Gary Jordan again. There's nothing to be gained apart from a little bit of just racing spirit if you can make a move on Barry Davidson. But in overall terms, even if he does get past Davidson, he'll still be third in the Moto3 class. The visor. Really, really tricky today. Yesterday, this part of the world was bathed in sunshine. Mike Brown continues to pull away from Nigel Moore. There's just a second between them at the end of lap 4, but that is certainly, that gap is building and expanding. Mike Brown doing lap times of 1:45. He's in the 1:45s. Nigel Moore still in the 1:47s. So already in amongst the traffic, 34, Sean Leonard. Oh, and a rider down. Could be Darren Duncan, I think. It looks like Darren. It is, in fact, it is Darren Duncan. So a little slip. Looks like he's maybe just got on the power a little bit too quickly in these wet conditions. Had a little spill, but he's up. But here goes Barry Davidson across the line. He has got a handsome advantage over Mark Johnson. In fact, it's something like 40 seconds now. So it's Barry Davidson's to lose. He's on his way to that 100th win. He'll be 8th. The only 8th rider, I should say, to achieve that. Yep, there with the likes of Ryan Farquhar, Joey Dunlop, Michael Dunlop, of course. Checkered flag is ready and waiting for Mike Brown. No sign of Nigel Moore as we look back from Mike Brown's bike. He had a 6-second lead over him. Now then, the only thing for Brown to negotiate, is he going to go past this battle for second in the Supersport 300s? He's going up inside one rider. So Mike Brown on his way to the checkered flag. Will he have a clear road ahead of him? Here he goes. On the throttle. Here we go. And it is first across the line. Mike Brown takes the win. So Mike Brown takes the win. Nigel Moore in second. Gary Jordan with a strong third place as well, just ahead of Gareth Arnold. And Barry Davidson has done it. 100 race wins. Fantastic. RJ Woolsey second, Linton Irwin third.
Yeah, nice start. Tricky conditions, but still nice to get the win under my belt for the first race. Just as we got going, it started to come down a bit heavy, so I was happy enough just to fall back a little bit and see where the grip was and just watch a few lads in front. And then when I got a bit of confidence up, I kind of just tipped away through a few and just took it home safely.
Basically, when I started racing, to get one win would have been fantastic. Like, but to go all these years and finally achieve 100, you know, it's something special. Like, and to have your name in that same list, you know, as Dunlops and Farquhars and people like that, you know, it's special to have your name with those fellas. So
Coming up next, more motorcycle racing from Cookstown. Welcome back, and let's return to the Cookstown 100. Fortunately, conditions still wet as the Junior Classic 250, 350 bikes take their place on the grid. This is how they'll line up. Barry Davidson in pole position alongside Phil Shaw and Nigel Moore. Jonathan Watt, Richard Ford and RJ Woolsey on the second row of the grid. Barry Davidson, one of the most successful Irish road race winners of all time. Is he going to add another victory to his growing collection? Already enjoyed success in the Supersport 300 class. Is he going to make it another victory yet again? So Davidson on bike 40. Away they go, and it's a good start from Davidson. Oh, cracking start from the third row from Edwin Gilmore on bike 19. Certainly moving. So here they come, it's side by side, or maybe not. Maybe it is Phil Shaw that's going to get to... No, it's not. It's not Phil Shaw, but look at RJ Woolsey on bike 5. Up around the outside, goes into second place, just tucks in behind Davidson as they go around Gorton. So I think they're all 250s. There's the odd 200 in there, or a Honda 198 to be precise. Davison from RJ Woolsey. Shaw is in third place. So out of McAdoo and off to Mackney they race. And RJ Woolsey coming under pressure. It looks like he's going to lose a position to Phil Shaw. So Davidson's through. Shaw is indeed in second place. RJ Woolsey back to third. And around Mackney they go. Looking at Jonathan Watt, who is in fifth place right now. Battling away with Edwin Gilmore as Davidson comes through, followed by Shaw, Woolsey, Gilmore in fourth place. Back with Watt, looking for a little gap, a little hint of something where he could maybe exploit. And already Barry Davidson, it looks like he's going to make it another victory already on this opening lap. Of course, reliability the key with a lot of these old bikes. And again, not many places in the world where you'll see 250s scratching around, but Northern Ireland, again, a hotbed as Jonathan Watt goes through. So Jonathan Watt passes Edwin Gilmore. So across the line they go, and already Davidson's through, followed by Shaw, Woolsey, Watt, Gilmore. Then it's Ford, and then Nigel Moore. The second wave of riders still to come, of course. There is Barry Davidson already into Gorton. Trying to sort themselves out now. Then is this Jonathan Watt at the inside? It is, but only just. Goes through on Phil Shaw. Oh, they're still sorting themselves out as they go around Gorton. And while they're scrapping away, Barry Davidson continues to pull away out in front. Just in a 2 minutes, 0.4 lap time. Obviously, some of the riders prefer the wet condition. Well, not prefer the wet conditions, but some riders perform, is the word I was looking for, better in the wet conditions than other riders. Some revel in it, some not too keen. I'd have to say, in this performance again, Barry Davidson certainly doesn't mind riding in the wet. You'll see those dry patches under the trees on the exit of Mackney. Looks like another move, maybe. Have to wait for the external camera to find out. Here they are, side by side. Jonathan Watt and Phil Shaw. And it's Watt just ahead of Shaw. So Barry Davidson then, what more can we say about Barry as he comes out of Craig Mount and down through Orritor. And that's the gap he's got back to Jonathan Watt in second place. So there is Jonathan Watt. Got to be around 10 seconds, maybe just inside. So here goes Davidson across the line now. So last lap flag goes out. He does another 1:59. That's his fastest time so far, 1:59.5. That's the fastest lap of the race on the penultimate lap. 34 is Trevor Stewart. RJ Woolsey trying his utmost to try and get a third place if he can. He's in this battle with Phil Shaw. Oh, there is Phil Shaw, almost standing still, or seemingly. Far from it though. So RJ Woolsey goes up into third place. Less than 2 miles to go. So here goes Davidson. Here is RJ Woolsey still hanging on to third place, or is he? Because here's Phil Shaw just behind him. Now where is Phil Shaw going to make that move if he can? However, Phil Shaw is not able to make any kind of inroads on RJ Woolsey. Meanwhile, checker flag is out for Barry Davidson. He takes the race win. This is how it winds up then, with RJ Woolsey indeed claiming third place just ahead of Phil Shaw. Jonathan Watt a very solid second, but Barry Davidson another race victory. The road is damp, but conditions not too bad for this, the senior support race. Anthony O'Carroll on bike 97 just making his way into pole position. Alongside him, Dean Lacey. Behind them, Gary Jordan. And he's got Paul Jordan alongside him. So they're going in two waves. This is how they will head off. Anthony O'Carroll, Dean Lacey and Stuart McCann on the front row of the grid. The first 8 riders make the first wave. Be a slight delay, then we'll have the second wave away. Noel Smith was leading that second wave. Graham McAleese, John O'Donovan. We are almost ready to go racing at Cookstown. So green flag at the back. So therefore we are ready to go racing at Cookstown. And already Anthony O'Carroll blasts away, taking Dean Lacey with him. Grant McCann's also powering away from the front of the... Oh, in fact, no, take that back. He's just sliding back a couple of positions. Jack Foley on 76 through, but 51. Keith Richardson up into third place already. So cracking start for Richardson as they go into Gorton. Wave away. A couple of riders missing. So that's John O'Donovan on 136, who's away sharpish. We're riding with Dan Ingham. On the brakes for Gordon. We'll see a few dry patches, dry line here or there. It's number 94. Annie fills up our screen. Richardson's trying to stay with the leading 2 riders. And certainly this part of the course looks a lot better than it does around by the start finish. Bringing up the rear of the first wave, Tommy Heapfeet. Fingers crossed we can keep the weather like this, although the forecast is not very good here for Cookstown today. Here they come across the line. It will be Anthony O'Carroll who leads at the end of this opening lap from Dean Lacey. Keith Richardson in second place. We have to wait for the second wave of riders to come through, of course, to form the certainly the top 10. Into Gordon, these 3 breaking away. Jack Foley on bike 76 is just crossing the line now, and he's got number 29 with him. That's Gary Jordan. Oh, going straight on. That's Leon Duffy, bike 106. So O'Carroll from Lacey still everywhere everywhere O'Carroll goes, Lacey seems to follow her back with Dan Ingham. So Dan Ingham still trying to hunt down two riders just ahead of him, Foley and Jordan. So down into Gorton they go. That gap between them still pretty much the same. 7/10 of a second at the end of that lap. Anthony Carroll doing a sterling job out in front. Dean Lacey doing a great job hanging on to him, but Dean Lacey just can't find a way through. Well, there is Stuart McCann still ahead of Gary Jordan. So here they go across the line. York off another lap as Jordan looks to make a move if he can. He's trying to get on the power. Meanwhile, much further back, Dan Ingham going through. Is going to start his lap next. He is struggling, it has to be said. Oh, a little mistake from Jordan, and McCann goes back ahead of him. Jordan just a little bit too hot on the brakes going into Gorton. Anthony O'Carroll, if he were to lose this now, he would not be very happy. The fact that he's led for all of the race, but Dean Lacey in second place. And they have one more lap to go, so just over a couple of miles of this senior support remaining. And Dean Lacey is running out of options. He's going to try and close in again. He did this before. He's going the long way around, but this time closes back up. Can he get on the power again? There's a slower rider in front of them. I think that's Jason Whelan. Further back. Well, it will take something spectacular to take this away from Anthony O'Carroll now. It will be a win for Anthony O'Carroll. Just the right, left, and then the checkered flag will wait and greet Anthony O'Carroll. He will take the win. Dean Lacey will have to settle for second, and that's been the story of this race. Here comes O'Carroll. It's victory, and Dean Lacey is second. This is how they finished. Great ride from John O'Donovan in the second wave to claim fourth. Behind Keith Richardson, Dean Lacey second, Anthony O'Carroll, the race winner. Don't go away, there's more motorcycle racing still to come. Hello again as we return to the Cookstown 100 in Northern Ireland. We've had the 250s, now it's the turn of the 350s in the junior classic category. Another good lineup. All mainly Honda 350s. There's the Oddball Taco and there's a Sealy AJS in there as well. But we are looking maybe at another Barry Davidson victory. 101 to his name so far. He's in pole position, and you'd have to say he starts as favourite, and he should be able to, as long as everything holds together, take that 102nd Irish road race victory. There's some good riders in there though. Nigel Moore, Andy Hornby, etc, etc. Watty Brown. So number 40, Barry Davidson. Gets a great start. Andy Hornby going with him as well. Also Nigel Moore into third place, but it is going to be Davidson who leads them into Gorton, but it's all about on the brakes, of course, into this right-hand turn. Getting it right, and also no one wants to tip off here at the very first turn. Davidson from Hornby from Moore. We've got Watty Brown, Kelly Carruthers, Mark Johnson, Robert McCrum. We're riding with Andy Hornby. That's Barry Davidson, the race leader, on this opening lap as they go into McAdoo for the very first time. Nigel Moore is certainly with them as well. So too Kelly Carruthers. Number 3 is Watty Brown. Mark Johnson also there. So too Rob McCrum, 101. But we're back with Andy Hornby on the run down to Mackney. And this just looks like, in terms of the road surface, this looks like the worst part of the track. We have a little breakaway of 3 out in front. Kelly Carruthers trying their best to stay with the top 3. Hornby right in behind Davidson, but Davidson just gets on the power. We're all on Honda 350s. And then it's Nigel Moore having a look. I think he is. But he's not going to make any impression on Andy Hornby just now. Kelly Carruthers lonely in 4th. And this little battle between Mark Johnson and Watty Brown. Barry Davidson, he's enjoyed this today. He's enjoyed not having anyone else's spray coming up into his visor. Gets out in front and he stays out in front. So the end of the first lap, he's going to cross the line in first place with Barry Davidson, and he posts a 1:57.8. Hornby with a 1:59.0, Moore with a 1:59.2, and Carruthers just outside 2 minutes 1.2 seconds. Davidson still from Hornby, Moore a lot closer this time. And again, you think that 350 used to have its own world championship for many, many years, and you hardly see anywhere else now on the planet. But Northern Ireland, a hotbed of 2-stroke racing. Now, the other question is Moore struggling to find his way past? Was Hornby doing his utmost to make sure Moore doesn't get through? We're at Mackney, Davidson goes through. Well, it would suggest there, that little gap between them, that Hornby is very, very settled in second place. Moore just can't do anything about it right now. Talk about settled, back with Barry Davidson. Tucked in. Again, just the whole road surface is utterly, utterly wet. Which maybe in some ways is a good thing, perhaps. Better than a half wet, half dry track. You'll either want it completely dry or completely wet. So again, Barry Davidson comes to cross the line, and Hornby and Moore, still nothing between them. Moore will try and gain some ground if he can on the long run down to Gorton, the fastest part of the circuit. Riding with Andy Hornby, will Nigel Moore appear in the picture? It's the brakes, really leaving it late, managing to time it to perfection. So Andy Hornby hangs on to second place, Nigel Moore is still 3rd, Barry Davidson pulling away out in front. Again, Davidson still in the 150s. Hornby and Moore still in the 151s. Oh, there he goes, Moore. So Nigel Moore goes through. So the opportunity did arise. The gap was there. So Nigel Moore goes through on the approach into McAdoo, and now looks to be pulling away from Hornby. Barry Davidson completing another lap with his name, with P1 by his side. And Kincaid about to get lapped by Nigel Moore, who continues to pull away. And that's Brian Harding further back, so they're the two at the back of the field, both getting lapped, 47. And then 42 is Andy Hornby, and he really is some distance back now. So last lap flag is out. Barry Davidson on his way to yet another victory, it would seem, at Cookstown, less than 2 miles to go. Amazingly as well, considering the age of these machines and the amount of love and affection they require, they're all going. I don't think we've had a single retirement yet. So well done, not only to the riders, but everyone who helps to prepare these fantastic machines. Barry Davidson, a fairly clear road ahead of him. No one has managed to lap anywhere near, well, reasonably near, but no one has managed to get in the 150s like he has. His last lap, a 151. Just easing off maybe perhaps, and also taking into consideration having to pass the likes of Kincaid and Harding, might have taken a second or two longer. Barry Davison, how many more years will he go on? How many more Irish road race victories will he tot up? This is the victory lap in effect. Nigel Moore still in second place. Andy Hornby, we just saw, still in third. And a big gap back to Kelly Carruthers in fourth place. So here comes Barry Davison. Nigel Moore has just taken 2 or 3 seconds out of him on that lap, although having said that, Barry Davison had a lot of time to play with. But here comes Barry Davison to take the checkered flag. 3 wins today at Cookstown. Fantastic from him. And that's how it winds up, with Edwin Gilmore taking 6th in the end, ahead of Watty Brown, Mark Johnson, Kelly Carruthers, Andy Hornby, Nigel Moore, and Barry Davison a winner again at Cookstown. Coming up next, more motorcycle racing from Cookstown. Welcome back to Northern Ireland and the Cookstown 100. We have Bree Michaels on the front row. Mike Brown, who broke both ankles in a big superbike crash here last year. Alongside him, Michael Sweeney, who was also involved that day. And returning to Cookstown, great to see Michael Dunlop back. This is how they line up then. And you'd have to put your money on a Michael winning this one. Mike Brown, Michael Sweeney and Michael Dunlop on the front row. Darrell Tweed, Graham Kennedy and Darrell Anderson on row 2. Stephen Tobin and Marcus Simpson completing the first wave of riders. No Matt Rees. He had a crash on this sight-in lap, so he won't be taking part. Ryan and Chalk, so there'll be a gap between those two. The first wave about to get underway. Sweeney just edging forward. It looks like a great start by Brown, so too Michael Dunlop. Here they come down to Gorton, racing away already. Second wave will be preparing to get away, but Mike Brown with a fantastic start. Darrell Tweed as well into second place ahead of Michael Dunlop, so cracking start from Tweed. We're on board with Michael Sweeney out of Gorton. Yeah, patchy, definitely patchy. But a great start from Darrell Tweed. The best of start of all though, going to Mike Brown. Though he seems to be reveling in the conditions, looking back from Darrell Anderson and number 164 Stephen Tobin. That's the first wave on the road. Just see the dry patches under the trees, but certainly where there's no tree cover, the road is very, very wet. But despite that, Mike Brown is very, very fast and very, very spectacular too. Dunlop in third, Sweeney in fourth, and already spacing out on this opening lap. You can see little damp patches as well, little bits of water standing, not really standing, but you can see little puddles. Well, this has been a fantastic opening lap for Mike Brown, so too Darrell Tweed. Dunlop in third with Sweeney almost on his shoulder, so across the line they go. 1 minute 40.0 for Brown. He is 1.3 seconds ahead of Darrell Tweed. And then another 1.3 seconds back to Michael Dunlop. So Tweed, a double Manx Grand Prix winner. Going well. We have to wait, of course, for the second wave of riders to come through. Keelan Ryan is leading that one. James Chalk second. Paul Cranston third. The evergreen Paul Cranston. Out of McAdoo is the race leader, Mike Brown. So many riders in this race on Yamaha. They have the odd Kawasaki and Honda here and there. But Tweed is being caught. Dunlop breathing right down his neck. Sweeney going along for the ride as well. But here comes Mike Brown, really is revelling in the conditions. Already has a race win under his belt. But this battle for second place, really intense. And it's all very good for Mike Brown, because obviously while Mike Brown is out front, Tweed could be argued that he's holding up Dunlop and Sweeney. So they're coming up to complete lap number 2 of 9. And Mike Brown with about a second or so just ahead of Tweed, but Dunlop could be, he is indeed lining up Tweed for the pass going down the straight, and there goes Michael Dunlop. He says enough is enough. Through he goes. So Dunlop in a second, Sweeney not able to get the toe. So then, here we go folks, Michael Dunlop in second place, Mike Brown ahead of him. That's the carrot on the stick. And really, this has worked very, very well for Dunlop, because now Sweeney can't get past Tweed. So therefore, Dunlop can concentrate on catching Mike Brown and not have to worry about Michael Sweeney coming through, because it's just really, really tight through this section of the Orritor circuit for Sweeney to make any kind of move. He'll have to be patient. Riding with Sweeney in 4th place. Harold Tweed just ahead of him. He won't get past here either. He'll have a go. Well, famous last words, Mr. Moore, because, oh, that was close. Sweeney really, really trying. Maybe just a little bit too hard, but it paid off. Tweed goes back to 4th. Maybe Darrell Tweed wasn't expecting a move there from Sweeney. I certainly wasn't. But Sweeney's into 3rd because he knows he can't let Dunlop pull away. He has to get back with Michael Dunlop as soon as he can. So Sweeney into 3rd. This is where I was planning on Sweeney going past Tweed. But Dunlop can make up some room. Or certainly close down that gap on Mike Brown if he can. Around 2 seconds, just under 2 seconds, the gap at the end of that lap. Who'd want to beat Mike Brown right now, with Michael Dunlop closing in? And he definitely is closing. Dunlop is gaining ground on Mike Brown. We're only a 1/3 of the way through this race. Oh, really patchy through. I was going to say some parts of the track just look drier than others. This looks really, really not that good. And a little bit of movement in the Yamaha of Mike Brown. Oh my goodness me, down goes Michael Sweeney. It was a slow one, so hopefully he should be okay. Let's just see that again. Maybe with the wet tyres just staying out. Oh, it just tucks from under him. Once the front goes, there's no coming back. So red flag. Darrell Tweed, this is just seeing, and you can see there, Sweeney just coming off, going through the gate, the open gate. So race result declared after 3 laps. Mike Brown with the win, Michael Dunlop in 2nd, Darrell Tweed 3rd, with Graham Kennedy 4th, Keelan Ryan 5th and James Chalk 6th.
Look, it is wet, it's a wet road race, but it's just, it's the few shiny bits of tar I think are catching people out. There's a few kind of patches there that are just, they're like glass, but if you can avoid them, it's not too bad. It's just a wet race.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks very much.
That's all for now. See you again next time. Underway. Checkered flag it is. Great start by Brown, so too Michael Dunlop. There he goes.